Israeli military spokesperson Avichai Adrai said in a post on social media platform X that the Israeli military has struck a nuclear facility in Iran's Isfahan. This comes as Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi strongly condemned Israel's strikes on Iran, accusing Tel Aviv of attempting to derail ongoing nuclear talks with the United States. Speaking to foreign diplomats, Araghchi declared that Iran's retaliatory strikes on Israel would cease only if Israel ends its military offensive against the Islamic Republic. The foreign minister has also accused Israel of seeking to expand to the far beyond Iran after it attacked the South Pars refinery on the shore of the Gulf. Moreover, the Iranian foreign minister claimed that Tehran had evidence to show that U.S. forces supported the intense bombardment campaign Israel launched against Iran this week. Here's what he has said.
ما خواهان گسترش جنگ نیستیم مگر اینکه به ما تحمیل بشه. ما خواهان گسترش این جنگ به کشورهای دیگه و یا به منطقه نیستیم مگر اینکه تحمیل بشه. ما اصولا خواهان این جنگ نبودیم. ما مشغول اجرای دیپلماسی در خصوص برنامه هستی خودمون بودیم، ولی این تجاوز به ما تحمیل شد. ما از خودمون دفاع میکنیم، دفاع کاملا مشروع هست، با اقتدار دفاع میکنیم و این دفاع ما در پاسخ به تجاوز هست. لذا اگر تجاوز متوقف بشه طبیعی است که واکنش‌های ما هم متوقف میشه. کشاندن صحنه درگیری به منطقه خلیج فارس یک اشتباه بزرگ راهبردی است که احتمالاً با عمد و با قصد صورت میگیره و هدف اون کشاندن جنگ به فراتر از خاک ایران هست. منطقه خلیج فارس منطقه بسیار حساس و پیچیده‌ای هست و هر گونه تحول نظامی در اون میتونه کل منطقه رو و بلکه کل جهان رو درگیر بکنه. رژیم اسرائیل خواهان هیچ توافقی در موضوع هسته‌ای نیست، خواهان مذاکره نیست، خواهان دیپلماسی نیست و تجاوز به ایران در میانه مذاکرات هسته‌ای نشون دهنده مخالفت رژیم اسرائیل با هر گونه مذاکره‌ای هست. الان هم کاری که انجام شده دقیقاً برای تخریب دیپلماسی، تخریب مذاکره بوده و ما متاسف هستیم که دولت آمریکا هم با این اقدام همراهی کرده.
Araghchi has also slammed the United Nations Security Council and accused it of indifference over the Israeli strikes. Meanwhile, he reiterated that Tehran is open to a nuclear deal that would ensure Iran cannot acquire atomic weapons but will not agree to abandon its nuclear rights. This comes after waves of overnight Iranian strikes on Israel killed at least 10 people, including children, according to state emergency services. According to Israeli local media, 6 people have been reported dead, 180 injured, and 7 people are still considered missing after a missile strike on a residential building in Bat Yam. Meanwhile, 4 people have died in the missile strike on the northern city of Tamra. Israeli authorities have said that the country's airspace was closed for a third consecutive day after 2 nights of deadly missile strikes from Iran. Meanwhile, Israeli military spokesman Avichai Adrai has urged Iranian civilians to evacuate residential areas near weapons facilities across the country after waves of Israeli strikes on military targets. Now we have guests joining us for this discussion, Dr. Punsara Amarasinghe Kotalawala. Sorry for the mispronunciation. He's joining us from Defense University, Colombo. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to NewsX World. Doctor, is Iran right to link Israel's strikes to an attempt to derail nuclear talks with the US?
I think precisely so, because just 24 hours prior to this attack happened on Friday, I was having an interview with NewsX right after the proposed so-called US-Iran nuclear deal discussion. I was predicting that Israel is likely to escalate a regional conflict. And also, I rightly pointed out that Iran lacks the strategic or logistical ability to reconfront back, given the fact that the economical vulnerabilities that encompassed Iran. So as I pointed out, within few hours, IDF aptly targeted the nuclear infrastructure facilities and also the defense apparatus of Iran, leaving a huge vacuum in Iranian regime. So here what we can see is that Iran is partially right, indicating that the Israeli attack is kind of an attempt to deviate the proposed nuclear talks between Tehran and Washington, D.C., because Israel is quite well aware of the fact that if Washington and Tehran are going to have some kind of a bargain, it will simply wound, it will affect the strategic planning of Israel towards Iran. Because Netanyahu's regime has been quite adamant since 2018, suggesting that Iran as an evil, Iran as a threat to the global and the regional security architecture of the Middle East. So the Netanyahu's regime from Israel, has no inclination of seeing any kind of a US-Iranian partnership, even when President Obama tried to get Iran back to the discussion table. Netanyahu's government was completely disappointed. When Trump came back to power after Joe Biden, the Israelis were elated because they assumed that Iran will suffer heavily under Trump. But on the contrary, now Trump was on the verge of having some kind of a deal with Iran. So this was kind of a decisive moment. It was in this context that Israelis hit Iran, paving the path for a regional escalation, which we can clearly see at the moment going on.
And Dr. Punsara, now expanding onto the bigger picture, how are international leaders reacting to this? Are they responding to this with, including China, Russia, or the EU, responding to this escalation, given their stakes in the nuclear deal?
Well, when you look at the partnership between Iran and Russian Federation and also the People's Republic of China, which stands extremely friendly, because even at the deteriorating stage of the discussion between Washington and Tehran, it was Russia who came forward saying that they can be a mediator in terms of exploring the uranium enrichment process by Iran. And what we can see is at the moment, I don't think that this escalation will go beyond the continent because given the fact that both Russia and People's Republic of China are nuclear powers and they don't want to enter into a game which will have point of no return. But we must not forget that the escalation erupted on Friday, which is still going on, is not likely to continue beyond a couple of days. Because I'm telling you, based on fundamental facts, Iran lacks the capacity to completely crush the military apparatus of Israel, given the fact that there is a considerable distance between Israel and Iran. So Iranians cannot lead any military infantry offensive against Israel. And at the same time, even if they launch thousands of ballistic missiles, right, they would be intercepted, and maybe few missiles will hit the targets in Israel, causing havoc, but most of the missiles will miss the target, given the fact that Israel has very formidable, the Iron Dome technology. At the same time, Israel has been clearly given the protection by the United States as a formidable ally, because it was right after the escalation, Trump made a statement strongly suggesting that the harsher repercussions will be much more severe if Iran continues the escalation with Israel. So he was implicitly suggesting that escalation should come to a halt. But if you look at the reception from the other global leaders, such as the Russians and the Chinese and the Indians, and even from rest of the global leaders, you don't find much harsher reaction coming, except the German Chancellor has suggested the Saudi Arabian monarch, the prince, to go and have a negotiation with Iranian for some kind of a ceasefire agreement. But beyond that, we don't find any formidable, very, I would say, remarkable reactions coming from the global leaders regarding this current escalation.
Thank you, Dr. Punsara, for joining us today and bring your expertise to our conversation.